Everyone these days is obsessed to learn how to code because they want to build effective programs that will help to change the world, and it's totally not about the money that they'll get paid. There are a few reasons that people fail to learn how to code effectively, and I'm going to mention them in this video. But before we get into that, I would like you to please subscribe to the channel because that helps me to keep motivated to make more videos like this for you guys. The first reason that people fail to learn how to code is that they don't learn how to learn. And I think that is a very important part because there are multiple pathways that you can take to learn a technology or a skill, right? For example, at my job at Google, my first week consisted of me learning Angular, and there were multiple paths to go about it, and I found out that I was wasting a lot of time just trying out different courses. I spent a lot of time researching which I could have actually utilized to learn the technology instead of just wasting that time browsing for courses, browsing for tutorials on YouTube or whatever. I would just like to advise you that get hands-on experience with the technology, get hands-on experience with coding, and try to build like small projects with it because that will allow you to gain like experience. And I think that just watching videos doesn't do enough because you need to be able to code along. Otherwise, you won't build that skill that you need to code effectively. Now, another reason that people fail is, for example, that you're watching this video right now. I bet that you must have watched a very similar video on the same topic from another guy. And now the thing is that there is so much information out there, so many resources to learn from, so many different opinions to listen from that you can't really know which one is correct and which one is not. So you spend the time just worrying about whether I'm on the correct path or not, whether I'm doing this correctly or not. Now, I would just like to say you that no path is exactly wrong because there are multiple paths that you could get to the same goal. And I would just like to say that just stick to that one path and don't deviate from it, because if you start deviating from the path, then you will start to waste your time just browsing on YouTube and not doing things effectively. And the big thing is that there are so many technologies to learn from, right? Like there's web development, machine learning, and people, they start to take like a breadth approach instead of a depth approach. I would just like to say that start taking more of a depth approach. Try to understand one sector better. You spend 3 to 4 years on one coding language, you will be able to master it effectively, and it will help you to become a much better coder than instead of just trying to master 4, 5 or 6 languages within that time span. Now, another reason that people fail to learn how to code is that in the earlier years of software engineering, and I can personally relate to this, is that we have a tendency to copy and paste from platforms like Stack Overflow. Now, this can make you achieve a temporary high where you feel that you have done something and you have achieved or made the application that you wanted, but you don't really understand the underlying concepts around what you did. And now that is a big problem because personally for me, I wanted to impress my friends, so I started building like websites even though I didn't even understand what this line of CSS does behind the scenes, but I would still copy paste in and it would work and it would seem impressive. But later on, this creates a big problem. Now later what happens is that when you start to work on a real project with some other software engineers, you just realize that you can't replicate the solution to the problem that you're given because you learned how to fix one particular problem, right? You just copy pasted that code. And now a lot of people, a lot of software engineers, they tend to face like an imposter syndrome at this stage and they start quitting. This is where most of the dreams die because this is like an all-time low for them, and they think that they have tried their best, which is just like copy pasting and not understanding, and they feel that software engineering is not made for them. The thing is that it is very easy to come back from this path. It's very easy to make amends, and how you can do that is by basically starting to understand the underlying concepts. Start to understand them, and once you like start getting a hold of it, you'll be able to understand how things are working and you'll be able to solve real world problems. So how do you actually understand a concept? It's not going to be understood by just watching like simple video tutorials. Rather, I would suggest you that if you're even watching like a video tutorial, just follow along, pause the video and try to solve it yourself. Get stuck on the problem, because once you're getting stuck on the problem, you'll start to develop core memory. You'll start to see how things are working. You'll start to unblock yourself without even watching the video. So that will build some core concepts. And now understanding the theory and the underlying concepts are very important. The differentiation between a good coder and a bad coder is that a good coder actually knows what's happening under the hood. Now, what do I actually mean by that? So for example, if I wrote a line of CSS, let's say, and I know that it's making the change, a bad coder would just know that it's making the change, but a good coder would actually understand how this change was made, how changing certain properties can affect the change that could be made. So they understand it completely how the statement is working. And now when they understand that statement, right, they could combine that statement with multiple other statements or like use cases and try to solve another unique problem, which which is something that a bad coder is not able to do because they just know the solution to only one problem that they came across. Now, a lot of people have another tendency which is really bad, is when they're starting to learn how to code right, they think that remembering the syntax is learning to code. And this is not true in any case, because even if you're a senior engineer, I'm currently working at Google and I like Google syntax every day. It is a very, very common thing. The big thing that actually differentiates you and makes you a good coder is knowing how to solve a problem. And that's the best thing about computer science and coding, right? Even if I give like a problem, let's say like a lead code problem, to someone who isn't like from the same background, let's say if it's not from a computer science background, they will still be able to like formulate an algorithm of how they could approach the problem and solve it. And I think this is the most essential thing, is learning how to think about problems, how to brainstorm them, how to discuss them, and how to really solve them. And coding in itself is not essentially, writing out the code. It's more like thinking how the code is going to be structured. What are some of the design decisions that you can make? Because there are multiple ways to solve a problem. So thinking about that really allows you to become a good coder. And I think that once you have this in your mindset while you start to learn how to code, it really enables you to pick up the real good things. It sets you on a path where you're able to learn how to think quickly, how to brainstorm things, and how to look at a problem from a different perspective, really. I think another big reason that people fail to learn how to code is that they tend to give up very, very early. And it's quite similar to going to the gym, is that you need to be consistent in order to see any kind of results. And people, what they do is that when they start to see that they are learning something and that they're consistently getting stuck at a problem, they think that something is wrong with them and they have this wrong mindset and they tend to quit. And the thing is that everyone has to go through this process. Everyone who is new to coding or any skill in general has to remain consistent. Think about learning the guitar or doing anything in life, right? You have to be consistent in order to learn anything. And people fail to realize that because they think that, oh, look at XYZ, they can code so well, I can't code, so they are talented and I'm not, so henceforth I can't code. That's not the case. People fail to realize the journey that XYZ actually took to get to this position. It's like saying that, oh yeah, Messi is so talented, he was born with that talent. And there are actually people who say that Messi is so talented, right? But they fail to realize the hard work that he has actually put in to get to that position. And you need to stay consistent with anything if you want to achieve a certain status with that skill. And the last reason that I would like to mention is that people don't tend to surround themselves with people who have a growth mindset, who are willing to help each other. If you want to learn how to code, you surround yourself with people who know how to code really well. Generally, people are very, very helpful. Now, with my Facebook internship and even at my job right now, most of my learning is through my peers. If I don't understand anything, I can just call on my peers and ask them to explain it to me. They have 4 years, 6 years more experience than me. So they are experts in that field and they can impart that knowledge onto me instead of me having to go through everywhere documentation and stuff like that. Although that is also a good idea. You should read documentation. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but leveraging the fact that your peers are more experienced than you should ask for their help instead of like spending time here and there trying to figure out what to do, right? And so that brings me to another point, that you shouldn't surround yourself with people who have a negative mindset. A lot of people around you will say, oh my god, coding is so hard to learn, I can't learn it, this and that, and they will try to demotivate you. Don't surround yourself with those people. Surround yourself with people who are good at coding, who will uplift you. And I think that is the purpose of my channel as well, is to uplift you guys so that you guys can learn how to code, land your dream job, or whatever goal is that you want to achieve, right? So I hope that you found this video to be insightful and this can be help to you in your journey. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, as that keeps me motivated to make more video for you guys. And as always, see you guys in the next video.